So I packed my sketchbook to a family trip to Peak District and I barely touched it. Have you ever been on holiday where you just couldn't find time or space to sketch? Well, that was me. But instead of getting frustrated, I decided I'll capture all these memories in my sketchbook once I get home. So in this video, I just wanted to take you back to some of the beautiful places we visited and just show you how I save these memories in my sketchbook. Now, the name Peak District makes you think of mountain peaks, right? But actually it's mostly these gorgeous rolling green hills with dry stone walls crisscrossing everywhere, sheep everywhere you look, and little villages with country pubs and tea rooms. This was my second ever visit to Peak District and I was really looking forward to it, knowing how beautiful it is. I packed my art materials, making sure to grab only my essential kit, and I had full intention to sketch every day. But here is the thing, I was on a family holiday with my husband, my son, and sketching wasn't really happening. I only managed these few sketches there, Mum Tour, Cuba Edge, and I quickly sketched the cottage we stayed in and a sheep that was grazing nearby. But to be honest, we squeezed quite a lot into this trip. We walked through the tunnels on the Mountcell Trail, we wandered around Buxton and Matlock, and we spent time along the River Derwent and Lady Bower Reservoir. So pretty soon I decided to use my camera rather than my sketchbook to record all these amazing views. Back at home, I scrolled through all these photos on my phone and I pulled together a little album of scenes I really wanted to sketch. And then, bit by bit, I started sketching from them. I filmed some of the process, so let me show you a few pages I've been working on. This first one is near Cromford Mills in Matlock, Bath. The narrow boat takes tourists down the Cromford Canal and it's very, very calm. I just love the contrast between the brightly colored boat and the dark stonework of the counting house. The next sketch is of a beautiful bridge in Bakewell over the River Wye. The water there was so clear. We saw huge fish swimming in the river just a few hundred meters down from this bridge. The most challenging part, of course, was to capture all these reflections and shadow in the water. And of course, I couldn't resist the wildlife. These young mallard ducks were just so cute. I later noticed that there were some young males among the females, so they were not colorful yet, and they look actually quite similar to females. The only thing that was distinguishing them from the females was the yellow beak, so I made a note about it in my sketchbook. Everywhere we drove, there were these gorgeous pink flowers, whole banks of them. I found out later that they called rosebay willowherb or fireweed. They are actually quite invasive and they love rocky terrain, which explains why I don't see much of them back at home here in South. But in the Peak District, they were absolutely everywhere. This sketch is also from Bakewell and the River Wye, and I started it in the evening using my desk lamp, so my camera recorded this awful flickering. I decided to speed up this footage for your comfort, and I continued the next day. I used this stiff old paintbrush to experiment with some paint splatters. Now, this is a sketch of a tunnel on the Monsell Trail, a fantastic path for cyclists, built on the retired train track. We walk through a couple of tunnels, but entire trail is quite long, so it's definitely better for cycling than walking. This last sketch is of some gritstone rocks near where we were staying. One evening after dinner, we all went out for a walk before sunset. I really hope that we can climb those, but they were on the fence of private land. We did spot some wild rabbits or hares, I am not sure because they were quite far away, but that was a lovely surprise. It was a very relaxing and peaceful walk, and I wanted to capture this moment in my sketchbook. You probably just noticed the change of light here. We just basically had this huge storm with hail and thunder.
So even though my sketchbook stayed mostly closed during the actual holiday, sitting down later with my photos and turning them into sketches has given me an even deeper connection to those memories. If you ever find yourself struggling to sketch on holiday, I hope this reassures you and you don't need to be hard on yourself. You can always bring those moments back to life once you go.
Thanks so much for watching, and let me know in the comments, do you prefer to sketch on location or do you work at home using your reference photos? I'd like to know your approach. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. I will be sharing more painting tutorials and sketchbook tips in the future, so I'd love to see you again.